So Karen, welcome to Wealth Talk.
Thank you for inviting me, Chris. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, good to have you on today. Really looking forward to our discussion. And this is all around how to write a book that builds your wealth and builds your business. So why don't you give us a little bit of introduction as to how you got into this, please?
Yeah, well, I started out in business in 2006. I trained as a coach, and that was what I did for a few years. And I accidentally wrote my first book in 2009, as you do. And you could say everything evolved, everything developed from there. My first book, it put me and my business on the map. I've written 6 of my own now, and I've been book mentoring business authors since 2014. So it's been a hell of a journey, and I love every moment of it because I think so many people have got information in their head. They need to get it out. They want to get it out in the best way, and writing a book is a brilliant way of doing it.
It is, isn't it? And we hear so many people who have that book idea and they never do get it out. So, try and convince those people listening right now then, Karen, what the benefits are, why they really should get that book written.
I find with clients there are kind of 2 types of benefits. There are the benefits they hope for, so the raised credibility, the maybe more speaking engagements, getting clients, reaching more people. But I also find there's unexpected benefits that people don't really think about when they start writing. So things like the process of getting everything out of your head and onto paper really helps you to clarify your message, what you're good at. It builds confidence, and it leads to so many opportunities. And one of the things I tell people to do is to talk about your book from the moment you start to write it. And actually in doing that, you can build your wealth, you can build your business before your book is published, which is kind of the secret, I believe, that a lot of people like me are missing, because a lot of people write a book, they launch the book, and then they think, oh my God, I've got to sell it. But actually, when you start right from the very beginning, for me, that's the most important part of it.
Yeah. And, a book in itself may not make you wealthy just from the sales.
Yes.
So where does that kind of bigger benefit come? Where do you see people actually being able to grow their business as a result of the book?
Yeah, you're right. A book itself, if you're selling a book for $14.99 on Amazon and you're getting maybe, a few pence, a few pounds per book, you're not going to make money from writing a book unless you're incredibly successful. But what I find with many of my clients, it's the raised credibility. It's being paid to do speaking engagements. It's the product that launches off the back of the book. It's the raised credibility that can, maybe get them invited onto podcast interviews and get in front of more people. It's the sponsorship, the crowdfunding. I identified in my last book actually 17 different ways that people can build money from a book. So that's quite an exciting thing to think about. So the book itself won't make you money, but when it's totally aligned to your business and when you know exactly what it's going to do for you and do for other people. And I think that's the most important thing I want to mention is alignment is so important when it comes to the book. If you write a book on any topic and it doesn't hit the mark, it's not going to be successful. So there's a lot of things that I teach clients around success in actually making sure that the book is totally the right book for the business rather than the wrong book, which obviously is just going to flop and not do anything at all.
So who should write a book then, Karen, and when is the right time to write a book, would you say?
It's never the right time. I will say that. Who should write a book? My main clients are running a business which is a service. So they're a coach, they're a consultant, they're a therapist, they're a trainer, they're a mentor, and they tend to be providing something that's intangible to clients. So they might be, an accountant, they might be, a business coach, all of those types of people. And they get to a stage where people have told them they need to write a book and they've done nothing about it. They realise that they want to reach more people, and it's a great way of leveraging what they know. And that's really when people reach that tipping point. And some people, they get to the stage where something happens in their life. And, they have a big birthday, they have a bereavement, they have a breakup or something. And then they realise that they have to finally get their message out there. But I'll be honest with you, so many people have told me, I've been thinking about writing a book for years. And then suddenly, the switch is clicked and they make that decision.
Mm-hmm. And, I've heard it mentioned that the book is the new business card. It's
absolutely.
If we think about the value ladder in a business of kind of an entry level product, and then something slightly higher than that, and then your main product, which obviously is your where you make your main profit. That book is a good entry level, because someone obviously reads a book. It's a bit like a podcast. They build that trust. They feel like they get to know you and they can understand your story. So I can see that as a big benefit.
Absolutely. The trust, I was talking to a client earlier this year, actually, who published with us in 2017. And she was telling me that everybody who has a consultation with her, 90% of them have read her book. So they know her, they trust her, they know her process, they know how she can help them. So they've kind of built all of that relationship with her without her even knowing it. So having something that's a no-brainer for people to buy, something that's really easy for people to purchase, is a great acceleration for that next step as well. And people get to know you before you even have to have a conversation with them, which is fantastic, isn't it? Your book is doing the work for you.
Now, of course, Amazon has completely changed the field when it comes to books now with Kindle and audiobooks. Is there much difference in the mindset behind whether you're going to write an actual physical book that's being published or whether you write an ebook like a Kindle book?
The process is exactly the same. When I wrote my last book last year, my sixth one, I went audiobook first. So it's not even available as a print book. It's not available as an ebook yet. I just went audio to get it out really quickly. And it was a bit of an experiment as well. But I do think these days, for people writing their first book, having something physical in your hand is magic. Because if you're doing a speaking engagement, for example, having something that people can download or people can listen to on audio isn't the same as being able to actually enable you to do a book signing, for you to hold your book in your hand. And I should have one of mine in my hand right now, because there was just something different, I think, about a physical book. But the process to writing any book, when I wrote my book last year, I followed my 10 principles that I teach everybody else. I followed them to the letter. I modelled exactly what I do, what I tell my clients to do. I just published it slightly differently. Same process, just different outcome.
So can we take a minute and look at that process a little bit? So Karen, you've worked with so many people to help them get the book published. What's your process? If you can just give us a few of the steps so that people listening now just at least have an understanding of what does it involve from start to finish?
Well, I think the biggest mistake a lot of business owners do is they say, I'm going to write a book. They open up a Word document, they start typing. For me, there are 4 steps you need to do before you even start to write a book. So the 4 steps: firstly, starting with the end in mind, which I know is something that you're used to hearing and obviously used to talking about, Chris. And starting with the end in mind is being really clear about your vision for your book. What do you want it to do for you, for your business, for your brand? What is your goal? What do you want people to do after you've read it? So that is very much starting with the end in mind. And also, who is the readers? Who is your reader? Because if you try and talk to too many people, nobody's going to get your message. So one of the things I say to people is niche, niche, niche. Be really clear on exactly who you want to read the book, what problem you're solving, what new information you're providing, and also what is the journey you're taking your reader on. So that's very much the first step, starting with the end in mind. And then we move on to getting really clear on what you're writing, because most business owners have got a huge amount of knowledge in their head. And if they put all of it down on paper, it probably wouldn't make any sense to them or even the ideal reader. So actually being really clear on the subject, or even which part of what you talk about is going to be most relevant in this book, is really key. The third thing is your secret sauce. So what makes your book different? Because on any topic, so on book writing, on wealth, there's a lot that's been written already. So what makes your book different? And also looking at competitor books is incredibly important. And then fourthly, we look at the structure. Planning the book, knowing exactly what order you're going to talk about things in the book, and then people can sit down, open that Word document and start to write. But without all of that, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough, and people will not necessarily get the result that they desire.
And I guess for many people who, approach the book writing process just by themselves, which, most of us would, it can become pretty overwhelming. So do you feel that having some accountability and other people around is important as well in this process? Absolutely.
One of the reasons people come and work with me is to give them that mentoring support, to be able to pick my brains, I think you just need that other person's point of view, because you get so close to your own stuff. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, actually, and we were talking about painting a wall. So for some people, they might go, I'm just going to paint the wall. But we forget all the things we do to prepare for that situation. Like we might need to clear the room first. We might need to, maybe fill in some holes. We might need to sand down the wall before we start. And I think as authors writing a book, we forget all the stuff we do, and a book allows us to strip back the layers of what we do and actually put it into a book. But when you get so close to your knowledge, it's hard to actually see all of the steps you do first before you paint that wall. So that's one of the things that I do with clients, is help people to really strip it all back so they get to know what they do on a much deeper level, which, as you can imagine, has huge benefits afterwards.
Now, do you see any common mistakes or pitfalls of people who are writing a book, and any tips for those which they can avoid, Karen?
I think I've already mentioned one, is don't start writing without a plan. So please, that would be the biggest pitfall. People starting and not finishing as well, because they get lost, they get stuck with writer's block. Again, that's where a plan can help, and having the accountability and having that, someone holding their hand every step of the way. Other mistakes is not marketing the book from day one. It's a great opportunity when you start writing to start telling people to do some market research, to find out what people think, do a survey, interview people. And actually, for some people who don't have the finances behind them to write the book, to potentially publish it, self-funding it as you go is key. So that is one of the things I'd recommend people do, is look at how you market your book, how you get it out to more people before you've even published it, which for many people can be quite scary.
And do most of the authors that you work with, do they self-publish or do they find publishers?
Really depends. So you've got kind of the traditional route, the hybrid, or the self-publishing route, and most of them go down the self-publishing route just because it's the quickest and easiest way of getting it out there. You retain your intellectual property. You can use your intellectual property for courses, programs, without having to worry about the legal side of things. So for many people, who are using their book as an authority building tool, absolutely self-publishing. I've had some clients go down the traditional route as well, and some go down the partnership route. So there's no right or wrong. It really depends on how quick you want to get it out there. But however people do it, quality is key. Yeah. Even if you're going down the self-publishing route, don't compromise quality, because this book is reflecting your brand, it's reflecting your business, and it needs to be the best it can be.
Yeah, it's a good point you make there, in that, once you've written your book, then it's very easy to turn that into an online course. It's very easy to then, turn that into a training program. So yeah, it can be repurposed in so many ways as well. And obviously you can take excerpts from that book and schedule those in social media as posts for almost the year ahead, right? Turn them into lead magnets to help build your email list. So it really is the starting point for building almost an ecosystem of IP around your business and your brand. Absolutely. When I wrote Your Book as a Hook back in 2014, one of the things I did is I created a program, and I wrote the book, ran the program at the same time. So 2014 was when I was making that moving from doing business coaching into the book mentoring arena, and I wanted to test out my material. I wanted to test out what I was learning, my own principles for writing a book. So I did a series of 3 online webinars which were free. I upsold to a 6-week program, and I ran that summer. So I had people testing out my material. I was trying it, getting a lot of feedback, testimonials I could use in the book. It funded the book and it funded the publishing. But there's nothing like having a webinar on a Friday to spur you into action to actually write it. If you're delivering, and I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about, but actually having that deadline makes you write it quickly. And I wrote and published that one in 6 months. Whereas my first one back in 2009 took me 18 months of hell to go from start to finish. Yeah, well, as we said earlier, it's the benefit of having someone that's already walked that path and has already, learnt what the right things are to do and the things to avoid. I guess, one fear maybe for some people are that they will write this book and then, they're not perhaps, versed in marketing, and will anybody buy it? So, again, learning how to market a book and how to start that process from the beginning is really important as well.
Yeah, there's kind of 3 phases to the marketing. There's kind of everything you do pre-launch, which is, talking about it, raising your profile. You might do podcasts, you might do interviews. And then there's the launch phase where you might try and get to Amazon #1. You might have a book launch party. You're looking at the PR. And there's also the longevity. For people who have published a book, think beyond the book. a year down the line, what do you want to do from the book? Do you want speaking engagements? How are you going to promote it? It's if you just pop it on Amazon and do nothing with it, it will just drop down the rankings and nothing will happen. So there's really kind of the pre-launch, the launch, the post-launch, and all are incredibly important when it comes to the marketing side of things. And just one thing to add is you don't have to do everything. You know, when there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to market a book, just choose the ones that work, rather than the ones that are going to stress you out or put you outside your comfort zone way too much.
Yeah. And again, well, it's where the combination of maybe the joint venture pillar comes in, because working with other people that maybe have a database or a group and an audience that would be interested in your book is a great way to promote that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And that's where podcasts are brilliant, because you can share really great information, but you can also reach more people with your message, which is really what a book is all about.
So is there anything that we haven't covered that you think would be of use for our listeners today, Karen, around this topic?
Gosh, I think we've all got to start somewhere. And I think, we could, one of the questions you asked me earlier, Chris, was about getting off the starting blocks. And, we've all got to start somewhere. And sometimes we can wait forever to be ready, and sometimes you just got to go for it. Imperfect action is better than no action is one of my mantras, and sometimes you just have to we were talking before we press record about building the plane as you fly it. Sometimes you have to create it, you have to start promoting it before you know what's in it. So it's just about taking action, baby steps towards that ultimate goal. And if you've got a dream to write it, just go and do it.
Great. Karen, thanks so much for sharing with us today on Wealth Talk.
Thank you.